It's day 17, the monologue where we discuss the highs and the lows of the day. And today was a very busy but a great day. Started out in West Yellowstone, and the first thing we did was went to the Grizzly and Wolf Discovery Center in the actual town of West Yellowstone. And wow, saw all the wildlife we didn't see in the national park and took a whole bunch of photos. We left there about 10 o'clock, and then we headed south along the Teton Valley. And I admit I got tired pretty early, so we got actually into Teton Valley, Idaho, at Ashton. We just pulled off, and I fell asleep at the city park for about half an hour till I felt rested. And then we continued south through Teutonia and Driggs and Victor. Victor was interesting because there was a rock shop here, and we stopped in, and well, I got kind of got seduced by the rock samples and just kind of the frustration of certain particular minerals that I had not been able to find that we're supposed to be able to find. So I bought a few samples there. Great shop. Definitely recommend it if you're in the area. And then we drove over Teton Pass, which is an amazing pass if you've never been to it or over it, I should say. And there's the videos going up the pass, down the pass, and one at the top of the pass. And then on the other side is Wilson, Wyoming. And this is where Denusa got its start. Way back 25 years ago, when I first moved out to the West, Wilson, Wyoming is where I landed with my best friend from college. And we lived here for about 6 years. Stayed at the Sleeping Indian Motel and walked down 2 blocks to get her mail at the little post office. And next door was the general store. We're feeling up to it or hungry. Well, there was the Stagecoach Bar and Grill next to that. And across the way, there was one small gas station and a really upscale restaurant. And that was about the size of Wilson back then. And boy, it's changed because when I was there, I had 200 residents. Today, 1,400. Wow. From there, we drove down the 6 miles to Jackson, crossing the Snake River in the process. And then I showed my housemate where the last year or so I stayed in Jackson. And this was about 4 or 5 o'clock. Wow, traffic was amazing. It was just like being in a city in rush hour. It was just stop and go, and it took us half an hour to 45 minutes to go a mile and a half. We did stop at the dollar store there in Jackson because it's like the only one in Wyoming, and we needed resupply. And then we drove down to the square and we walked around that for a little bit and showed my partner an art gallery uh, and the jewelry that was being offered for sale. And I'll tell you what, Jackson's a luxury town, and everything is top dollar and top price. So it's generally not the best place to find things, but it's a great place to look around. Found out the Rancher Bar had closed in the time that I had been gone in the 20 years or so, but the Cowboy Bar was still open and running full steam ahead. And has a beautiful, huge bar with silver dollars laid into it. We also did a video in the middle of the square with the elk antlers. And then it was time to beat feet out of town because by this time it was already like 6 o'clock or so. And we still needed to make it to Ocean Lake, which is way away. So we drove up the valley and we did make a stop at Malton Barns uh, in the valley to take pictures of the barns, but more importantly, the Grand Tetons themselves. And then we continued north past the airport and a number of dude ranches and the entrances to Grand Teton National Park, passing the Grand Tetons in profile as we continued to the south end of Yellowstone. Yes, we had just made almost an entire loop, short of about 100 miles or so. And then we bared east and we went over Togety Pass, which not as crazy as Teton Pass, but quite the pass in itself. And at the top, we found snow. It's second week of September, but that should be expected here. This is one of the first places in the continental United States that gets snow for the year. In fact, there's usually snow from September through June. Thank goodness we got through the down and the curvy stuff by the time it really got dark. And then it was about another 40 miles that took us into Du Bois. And by this time it was like must have been like 7:30, 8 o'clock by this point. And Du Bois is the last place to get food, and it's actually the only size town. We were lucky. There was one restaurant open, and even though they were following lockdown procedures, they were still open, and we were able to get a table, and the food was good. The staff was great. Definitely recommend it. By this point, it was had to have been like 8:30 at night, and we were definitely tired. From here, we just drove another 40, 50 miles again to Pavilion, Wyoming, which is where Ocean Lake is located. And the reason I wanted to stay at this campground is for many, many years when I lived in Wyoming, I always used to pass Ocean Lake, looked at it and said, wow, that'd be a great place to camp, but never had the time to actually stop and camp because I always passed it in midday. Well, finally, today was the day, and or I should say, this was the night of nights to camp there, and we did. And that's where we ended the night. Very tired at about 10:30 at night, but we made it. Stay tuned for the night video of Ocean Lake and the daytime video of Ocean Lake. For now, happy trails.